grab a few inexpensive solar light stakes from the dollar store. And while you're there, pick up some glass jars. Once you're home, start by removing the stakes from each solar light. Now prep the jars. First, remove the lids. Again, they can be saved for another project. Then it's time to add a little color and texture. Pour some colored glass beads or stones into each jar, filling it about 1/3 to halfway full. Apply a thin bead of glue all around the top rim of the jar. Then carefully press the solar light down onto the rim, aligning it so it sits flat and centered. Now we're going to add a hanging feature. Cut an 18-inch length of rope or twine. Add a line of strong adhesive glue around the neck of the jar, just below the rim, and press the rope onto the glass. Wrap it snugly around the neck, but leave the 6-inch rope tail sticking out on one side. This is going to be your hanger. Again, give that glue some time to fully dry. Once everything is secure, take the rope tail and bring it up and over to the opposite side of the jar. Use some hot glue initially to attach it. This creates a simple hanging loop. And that's it. Your DIY solar lights are ready to shine. There are so many ways you can display them. Let one shine from the center of an outdoor dining table. Line a few along your front porch railing, or hang them from shepherd's hooks in the garden. As daylight fades, you'll see the magic start to happen. The solar lights turn on automatically, and the glow through the colored glass beads is absolutely beautiful. I hope this inspired you to create charming outdoor decorative solar lights using inexpensive solar stakes, glass jars, and colored beads.
Grab some solar lights from Dollar Tree to create this outdoor decor. For the first piece, I'm going to grab a pool noodle as well. I'm going to cut this into small 1-inch sections. And then I'm going to paint 3 of those sections a really dark black color. Now I'm going to put it all together. I picked up this really heavy metal candle holder from a thrift store. I'm going to use a little glue to attach each of the pool noodle pieces to where the candles would normally go. Then I can grab my solar lights, pull off that bottom, I don't need that, and I can glue each of the lights into the center of the pool noodle. This is going to help them stay in place really well. Now I can put this on an outdoor table, and it has a really elegant feel and gives off a nice soft glow. I picked up this lamp at a thrift store. The first thing I need to do is pull the wiring out. Now I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it with a textured metallic spray paint. This is going to take a couple of coats, and I'm going to let it dry in between each one. Now I can put the shade back on, and instead of a light bulb, I'm going to put the top of a solar light right in the center. I'm just going to use some hot glue to attach it in there really well. And I have a beautiful lamp that I can use in my outdoor space. Grab a solar light, pull off the stake, we don't need that part. Then use some hot glue to add it to a metal sconce. I picked these up at the thrift store. They're nice and heavy. They're going to work great outside. Then use a screw hook in a fence or a deck and hang the sconces outside. It gives beautiful ambient lighting. I hope this inspired you to grab some Dollar Tree solar lights and create some beautiful outdoor decor.
Have you ever wondered what you can do with an old worn out lamp? Well, head to your local dollar store and grab some type of solar light. Then when you get back, it's time to start working. Grab your lamp and go ahead and remove the shade and the harp that goes with it. Then we're going to remove the parts of the lamp that we don't need anymore. And you're going to unscrew the nut that's there. And this is going to loosen up your whole lamp. But what we want to do is to remove that metal socket where the light bulb sits. So pull it out and use some good wire cutters to snip the wires that are connected to it. You'll be able to pull the socket out of the top, and then you're going to want to pull the cord out of the bottom of your lamp. We want to get rid of the plug and the cord. Once you've done that, go ahead and just tighten it back up again so your lamp is back in its original order and you'll be ready to go. So my 2 lamps were different colors and I wanted them both to be black. So if you want your lamps uniform, then lay out a piece of cardboard, some paper some paper bags, and I did a nice 2 coats of a matte black. Once that's dry, you can set your lamps up on a table and grab some good quality glue and run a bead of glue around the top. Okay, you're going to set your solar lights on top, pressing them firmly down, and then give them a few hours to dry. And then when night comes, you'll be ready to place your lights in the garden. I put one on our little patio table. These lights shone so brightly. I was super impressed by how bright they were, considering that I paid $1.25 for each of them.
For today's project, I headed down to my local hardware store and I grabbed one of these solar lights. First thing I got to do though is I went ahead and bought a pre-made fence post. And this is going to be great. It's already primed, but I do need to add some paint. It's best to get some high quality outdoor paint. I'm going to paint this one white. The next step was to get my house numbers. I wanted to lay those out about the middle of the post. When I put them in, I do want to pre-drill. It does come with nails, but I don't want to pound on it and damage the number. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill and they'll go in pretty easy. Once I get the first number on, I'm going to go up from there and do my middle number and my last number. Once I get those installed and they're looking good, then I headed on down to Dollar Tree and I grab one of these stands right here. All I need though on this stand is the bottom part. I need that U shape. Once I put this on it a couple of times, it clips right off. Look at that. Back and forth and it'll come right off. Now back to that solar light. I don't need the bottom portion. I can get rid of that. And then I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom. The reason is I want to drill a hole just big enough for the metal stand to go through. Once I get that all the way through, then I'm going to go ahead and take it and put it on there and it should pop right into place. And it's also cool because it can rotate on there and it holds it up pretty nice. Now it's time to attach it to the post. This is pretty simple. I'm just going to use some electrical clips that go on there. I just need 2. You can put 3 if you want. They screw in really nice. Once I got that, it rotates up and it's ready for the light. I noticed that the stand is going to go too far into the pot that I bought. So what I want to do is nail this little fence picket on just to give it a little bit of an extra oomph on the bottom. The next step is to add some concrete. As you can see, I always put water in the bottom so it doesn't stick, and then I put the concrete in and then put some more water on top. You can hand mix it if you want, but I went ahead and used a paddle, put it on my drill, and kept mixing. Again, just add a little bit of water as you need. Don't put too much water in. And you want to get to a consistency where the post can go inside the pot. Now, I'm going to slip it on down, push it all the way to the bottom, and that's okay if it doesn't cover everything because we have a solution in the end. But we need to hold this up while the concrete is drying overnight. I just took 2 boards, put them right across the top with some clamps. Make sure it's straight and level and it holds up. The next day after the concrete dries, I can take those off and it's really strong. Look at this. It holds pretty nice and it's not going to go anywhere. And it's got a good strong base. I'm going to put some drain holes in the bottom. Go ahead and put it where I want next to my house. And then I'm going to add some potting soil. Good quality potting soil. Don't skimp on that because when we plant, we want to make sure it's good. And make sure we don't have any unwanted guests hanging around. I'm going to go ahead and plant some flowers in there and make it look really nice. Once I get all these planted, I want to make sure that I add some water because they're starters, get a good root system going, and then it's time to put on that solar light. Again, we're going to take that stand, put it on there, and look at this. This thing looks absolutely amazing. I love it with the house numbers on there and everything. And when night comes, watch this. It's absolutely going to glow and give a nice special effect. I love it. Charges during the day and it glows up at night. I hope this inspired you to go ahead and build your own solar-powered house planter numbers. I thought it turned out great.
Grab a Dollar Tree solar light and one of those tall glass vases. Put the base of the solar light into the vase and then fill around it with some decorative stones. Add the top and use these on an outdoor table to add some soft lighting. Remove the top of a solar light and wrap some floral wire around it to create a swing. Place this inside a paper lantern and use these in your outdoor space. Grab a few small clay pots. They can even have the soil in them. Place a solar light into the middle and fill around it with stones to hold it in place. You can use these small pots to line a walkway. Grab a larger planter, place a few solar lights in it, and then fill around it with rocks. It's a great way to add light to a corner where solar lights don't naturally stick into the ground. sound. So I picked up a couple of these dollar store solar lights and I'm gonna take them apart. I just need that kind of crystal plastic part and the top. So I'm gonna cover the light bulb on the bottom and then I'm gonna cover the solar panel on top and then use a craft knife to cut around it so you get perfectly straight lines. This is a 7-inch basic embroidery hoop. So I'm gonna untwist this screw and put that aside, and then both pieces of the hoop plus that light need to be spray painted. I'm taking them outside and I am adding a couple coats of a matte black spray paint. Make sure they're fully dry to the touch, and now we can assemble. So first we wanna remove the painter's tape so that these solar lights work. On the clear plastic part, there are 2 little clips that help attach it to the top. And I'm just gonna take some floral wire and wrap it around each one of those clips. Wrap it nice and tight so it hugs the plastic closely. And then I'm able to screw the black part back on top, and the wire is still gonna hang out either side. I picked this chain up at the craft store. It is actually in the jewelry section. I'm gonna thread the chain through the screw and tighten it about halfway. The solar light is going to hang from the inside hoop. So I'm just going to use my floral wire and wrap it around that hoop. I want to make sure it's centered so that when I'm holding it up, the light hangs right in the middle. Now I can put this middle hoop, the smaller hoop, back inside the larger one. Now once everything's in place, I can tighten this screw and it should hold together really well with tension. I made a couple of these dollar store solar light pendants to hang on my deck.
I'm going to grab me some solar lights. Next, head over to the hardware store. I'm going to grab me about 100 feet of nylon rope. First thing I got to do is blow up this dollar beach ball. Then I got to get out some Portland cement. Make sure it's not concrete, but cement. You want it actually really thin because we need to coat that rope. Now, on that beach ball, just start laying that rope. You're just going to start roping it all the way around. Once you get to the end, what you're going to do is tuck that last bit in underneath the rope. And it's going to hold it in place. Then what we can do is move on to possibly adding a little bit more cement. Make sure you cover all that rope. We want it to stiffen up as best we can. Let it sit for a couple hours once we get it covered. Once it's covered, take a knife and just puncture the beach ball. Once we get it all the air out, just go ahead and pull it through one of the bigger openings between the ropes. Now, I want to clean it up. Took a little bit of a plastic fork and just clean up the edges. Don't want anything flaking off. Take a squirt bottle and start squirting all the string, and you're just going to powder it with the cement. Just keep doing that all over. What this does is make it thicker and strengthen it up. We're going to grab that dollar light again. Take out the bottom part. You're going to turn it around, put it in, and that's what's going to stick into the ground. Go ahead and put it right into the ground, right in the area you want to put it. And then you're going to take your string orb and you're going to put it right over the light, right in the middle, and lay it on down. Once it's in place, it just looks really good, just sitting there. It's waterproof because it's on the nylon rope and it's made out of cement. But once night comes, look at it light up. It is amazing to see from your yard and from the street.
We're going to start by cutting the 4x4 down 28 inches. Next, we're going to take the post cap out of the box and prep it for painting. Decided to use some spray paint on them to get the look that I was going for. So I'm covering up the solar panel, and then I'm covering up the glass frame around the light. Next, using a hacksaw, we're going to cut down the angle bar into 4 pieces, 24-inch pieces. You want to use a hacksaw with multiple tiny teeth because it makes the cutting process a lot easier. With the angle bars cut, I'm setting up this spray shelter so that I can spray paint the angled bars as well as the post cap. I'm painting the 4x4 post with an exterior solid base paint by Behr called Catalina Coast. This is where you're going to glue the angled bars. You want to make sure to leave that ½ inch from the top of the post. This will ensure that the post cap will lay flat on the surface. With the spray paint dry, I was then able to use a 5-in-1 tool and remove the painter's tape and place the post cap at the top of the pole. With my solar post complete, I dug a hole about 6 to 8 inches deep so that I can place my posts in the ground. And I also used some quick setting concrete around the pole so that they would be nice and sturdy. I love the way this turned out. This completely transformed my walkway.
Here are a few ways you can add ambiance to your yard by using solar lights. This taper candle holder I found at a thrift store. I added silicone to each holder spot and then added the top of a solar light to each one. I let it dry for 24 hours and it's ready to go outside. To make some light up address numbers for your home, using a stencil or freehand, you can paint or use a Sharpie to draw on your numbers. Add some glass rocks or any decoration inside you like. Add some water as it will amplify the light reflection. Pull your solar light apart and you only need the top piece. Place that inside the lid of the mason jar and screw the lids back on. To make a terracotta pot lighthouse, you'll need 3 different sized terracotta pots. This is so they'll stack easily. Start by painting your terracotta pots whatever color you like. Pull the solar light apart and cut the little stem off the solar light to make it flat. Add silicone to the base of the solar light and put it on the top of the terracotta pots for your light. Using some more paint or Sharpies, draw on your windows or any other decorations you'd like. Once it's dry, you're all set to go. You can put it outside and enjoy it.
To begin this project, choose your solar light set. Next, using 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch board, measure and cut 8 8-inch sections. Using a rad nailer, I secured these together, creating a square, but if you don't have access to this tool, you can always use a screw. Next, decide how long you want your light to be. We chose to use a 1 by 2 by 30 inch board. After sanding, find the middle of the board and mark off 5 points. We spaced ours 5 inches apart. Using a paddle bit, drill through the center of the board. After finding the center on the side piece and the length board, line them up and then secure. Once everything is square, measure your final 4 boards to make a hollow rectangle. Cut and secure these as you did the side squares. Finally, attach 2 eye hooks to either side to use for hanging. After my eye hooks were secure, I attached 3 feet of black chain link to each side of my chandelier. You can leave this raw wood and coat with a polyurethane to protect it from the outdoors, but I chose to use a satin black spray paint. Once my spray paint was dry, it was time to secure my solar lights. This took a little force, but warming up the plastic in the sun can make the tube more pliable. I chose to cut down my tubes, but this is of course personal preference. I have a pergola out back where I hung my new chandelier from 2 screw hooks. I absolutely love the new ambiance it creates, not only at nighttime, but it also adds a designer touch to my outdoor space.
For this weekend project, I head down to my hardware store and I need 2 types of rope, one smaller and one bigger than the other. What I need to do is take a 2x3 and I'm going to cut a 24-inch piece and a 36-inch piece, 2 of those. And what I'm going to do is build a box with it. I'm going to take the ends, put them together and use a clamp. This is going to hold it in place while I pre-drill. And what I'm going to do is put in 3-inch screws to hold these pieces together. Once I get that done, I'm going to mark 2 inches from each side on the long end. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch paddle bit and I'm going to drill some holes through it. And I'll come back to that later. Once I get that all sanded, it's time for staining. I'm going to go every 4 inches around all the sides. I'm going to keep them spaced just right, and once I get them all drilled and cleaned up, I'm going to take that smaller twine that I got and I'm going to start weaving it in back and forth. It's going to be like lacing a shoe. Now, when I get the sides done and I'm going from the top to the bottom, I'm going to go up and over each of the lines that I have. I'm just going to alternate. When I come back the other way, I'm going to go the reverse way. Get those tied off with a knot, and then I'm going to take my bigger rope that I picked up earlier through those 1/2 inch holes on the 4 corners. I'm going to tie a knot, get it nice and tight. Then I can pull it down and make sure it's going to fit. Now I'm going to tie the 2 top parts in a knot, and I want to hang this at an angle. And then I'm going to hang it from the tree on the branch.
I headed to my local store and picked up a bunch of these cinder blocks along with some 12-inch wide pine boards. I strategically arranged the cinder blocks in a T shape, placing them in 2 levels on either end, and adding extra blocks in the center to accommodate the wider space. Next, I cut the pine boards to match the seating length and added some patterns. I then placed the boards upside down and connected the 2 boards using these mending braces. Then, to protect the wood, I sprayed it with a waterproof coating. Lastly, I placed the wood top on the arranged cinder blocks and added a couple of outdoor pillows.
ran down to the dollar store and picked up some pool noodles. I cut them in half lengthwise. I made sure to cut the pool noodles to the length of the bench seat, and I secured it in place using a staple gun. At this point, I also added some fabric. I chose outdoor fabric because I knew that my bench was going outdoors. I secured this in place as closely as I could to the bottom of the pool noodle, put the fabric over that piece, and secured that piece again. And I continued this pattern of noodle fabric so that I could create tufted channels, and the fabric would look like it goes all the way down in between the different pool noodle pieces. When I got to the end of the bench, I again took that last piece of pool noodle, wrapped it around the back edge of the wood, and secured it in place. Now I needed to add the legs. I had ordered these legs off of Amazon. All I had to do was secure them in place using the screws that came in the box.
The first part is making sure that the bottom is flat and level. When you're stacking the cinder blocks on top of each other, always make sure you use an all-purpose construction adhesive. It's going to hold the blocks together so there's no slippage or having them fall apart. On a project like this, you're always going to want to make sure you're wearing gloves. You're going to lay and stack 4 of these cinder blocks together. You're going to do this for both sides. Always want to make sure I take my level and just make sure it looks good. Then we're going to take 2 more, turn them the flat way. Use the construction adhesive, lay it down, and put the bricks on. These are going to lay sideways, facing each other. The next thing we're going to do, on the back half of the last cinder block, we're going to put some construction adhesive and lay this cinder block facing up. Now that we've got our cinder blocks in place, you're going to use a total of 7 on each side. The next step is putting the wood in.
Grab an old door from your local thrift store. Place it on 2 sawhorses. Begin by removing any hinges and sanding it smooth. Once it's sanded, blow away the dust and add some primer. After it's been coated in primer, add the paint color of your choosing. We decided to go with the fresh white, but you can do any color. Paint the sawhorses as well. After it's dry, carefully get rid of any glass using a hammer, pliers, and protective gear. Next, secure the door to the sawhorses and seal the paint. The mini window we removed allowed us to perfectly place our umbrella inside.
I scoured Amazon for the perfect shower curtain. I want to make sure I leave enough hanging over. I'm going to give the table a quick coat of paint and sew them all the way around. Thread a piece of twine through the pocket I created. It's time to put the new cover on the table. Give your outdoor table a makeover. I've gone ahead and flipped the table over, and I want to attach the fabric to the underside of the table. I'm going to add some clear glue to them, and this is going to help the paint not only adhere, but it's going to give it a transparent quality. Once the first coat of paint is dry, I can go over the outlines again just to make them a little darker. I'm going to use 2 of the lighter colors of the yellow and alternate them around the table. I'm going to use a water-based clear coat and apply probably 3 coats to this.
To start, I'm going to need a wood crate, and I'm going to give this a good coat of paint here. I am using a top of a desk that I am no longer using anymore, and I'm going to take my painted crate and place it bottom side down. Then I'm just going to drill some holes and add some screws. Make sure to use screws that aren't going to go all the way through the table, but are long enough to really keep it secure. Then we just flip it over and we have this low table that's going to offer some great floor seating. To make it even more cozy, I'm adding some cushions to the ground.
I measured and marked the table in half, 8 even spaces. I piped the mastic into each bottle top and then applied them to the tabletop. I added the remaining tops. I mixed 2 cups of grout with half a cup of water. I used duct tape to make it edge. I spread the grout onto the top of the table and I cleaned away any excess grout. I sanded the edges smooth. Using mosaic sealer, I applied a liberal coat.
I found this fun shower curtain. I'm going to start by painting the table. Use a utility knife and run it along the edge. I want to seal the paint to protect it. Put a layer of Mod Podge all over the glass, and now I'm going to lay the shower curtain onto it. Trim off the excess, add 1 more layer of Mod Podge over the top for added protection.
I've got this old glass table, get it all cleaned up. I'm going to tape around all of the edges. Next, we're going to do that 2-part epoxy. We're going to pour it halfway down the table. Next, we're going to mix a little bit of teal. We're going to pour it out. We're going to go with a darker green, and you're going to start spreading out that white. Start getting rid of all that flaky paint. Start spraying it with some good spray paint. It was time to put on the darkest color we have. Put some more waves on and spread it all out.
I went to Lowe's and picked up this large plastic
terracotta looking pot. Give this a light sand. My decor currently is horizontal stripes, so that's why I'm gonna go ahead and do this and use the width of the frog tape and make this easy for myself. So I am gonna do some pink and white stripes on this. I'm just gonna go around and dot the edges of my pot with some silicone dots. Remove the tape, line up my frog tape with my pink line. All right, so now that our white paint is dry, we are going to peel off our tape again. I'm just going to be using this Rust-Oleum matte clear coat.
I took the table apart, separating the glass from the metal ring. Laid the glass on top of the picture. I mixed 2 parts white glue to 1 part black craft paint. I outlined the sun. And once the lines had dried, I cleaned up any lines that were too thick by cutting them away using a utility knife. I painted the background using a 1-inch wide brush. I added designs to each panel. I gave the paint 2 coats of spray sealant. I used a medium grit sanding sponge. I painted the metal bright blue.
Get a styrofoam cooler. I found mine at Walmart. Take a piece of cardboard, trace with a Sharpie, and cut with an X-Acto blade to make it slightly smaller than the lid of the cooler. Take a piece of upholstery foam and trace with a Sharpie and cut with an X-Acto blade. Hot glue the upholstery foam to the top of the lid with the cardboard on top of that. Take a blanket, rug, or textile of your choice and cut it to size to the top of the lid. Fold and hot glue to the lid and trim the excess. Use an old sheet, cut to size, and wrap around the cooler base. Hot glue all the way around the base of the cooler and trim off the excess. Cut the remainder of the blanket, fold over and hot glue the edges to clean them up. Wrap the blanket pieces around the base with hot glue. Add tassels from the blanket around the top of the base of the cooler to give it a boho look.
Let's head over to Dollar Tree and we're going to grab a paper towel holder. Let's all run down to the hardware store and grab us a wood round. Gotta sand the edges. Got to condition the wood. Let it dry about 30 minutes to an hour. Once it dries, it's time to put on some stain. We're going to get 3 of those paper towel holders and we're going to set them in place. What we need to do is paint them. Once we get it all painted, let it dry. Now we got to curve the edges a little bit and bend them. Don't bend them too far, just get them a little 20 degrees and we're going to do all 3 at the same angle. Now we're going to put them in place on the bottom of our wood round. And I'm going to take these little electric hooks that I got out of the hardware store and I'm going to put 4 all the way around each side of these circles here. And once I got them marked, I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill. I'm going to go ahead and put little tiny screws in and hold these clips in place. And I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue. And then I'm going to take some twine. I'm going to set it there and then I'm going to start wrapping it all the way around.
Here's a cool idea to upgrade your garden with these LED lights. First, I cleared out all the overhanging plants and exposed the existing retaining wall. Then I trimmed the overgrown bushes and used a power washer to clean the concrete blocks. After washing, I added another row of blocks, filled the gaps with sand, and topped up the garden with new mulch. It already looked amazing and I was ready to install the lighting. I then placed the rope light on the inner side of the edging, starting from the farthest end of the garden bed. I secured the light in place using garden staples about every 12 inches. This light is linkable and customizable to fit any length you need and flexible enough to follow the curves. Most importantly, LED lights are energy efficient. This is a perfect way to light up your walkways and other parts of the garden at night. It enhances safety while adding beautiful accent lighting.
We decided to elevate our driveway entrance. We picked a spot on either side of the driveway and started digging a hole using both a shovel and some post hole diggers. We then added a wooden post to the hole we just dug. I held the wooden post in place in the hole after we got it nice and leveled, and then we slowly started packing in the dirt that we previously removed. You don't want to fill the hole completely with dirt. Leave some room for some quick setting concrete on top. This will definitely secure the wooden post and make sure it stays in place. Then, using a watering can, we poured water on top to set it. We decided to stain them a darker color, and then we attached some ornamental hooks on the front of the post. This elevates our driveway entrance so much and gives us some instant curb appeal. Another little extra piece we decided to add to the pole planters was a solar operated light on top. We drilled that in on the very top of the post, and at night it gives off a flame that appears to be flickering, which is a very nice touch.
I'm going to grab me some solar lights. Next, head over to the hardware store. I'm going to grab me about 100 feet of nylon rope. First thing I got to do is blow up this dollar beach ball. Then I got to get out some Portland cement. Make sure it's not concrete, but cement. You want it actually really thin because we need to coat that rope. Now, on that beach ball, just start laying that rope. You're just gonna start roping it all the way around. Once you get to the end, what you're gonna do is tuck that last bit in underneath the rope. It's gonna hold it in place. Then what we can do is move on to possibly adding a little bit more cement. Make sure you cover all that rope. We want it to stiffen up as best we can. Let it sit for a couple hours once we get it covered. Once it's covered, take a knife and just puncture the beach ball. Once we get it all the air out, just go ahead and pull it through one of the bigger openings between the ropes. Now, I want to clean it up. Took a little bit of a plastic fork and just clean up the edges. Don't want anything flaking off. Take a squirt bottle and start squirting all the string, and you're just going to powder it with the cement. Just keep doing that all over. What this does is make it thicker and strengthen it up. We're going to grab that dollar light again. Take out the bottom part. You're going to turn it around, put it in, and that's what's going to stick into the ground. Go ahead and put it right into the ground, right in the area you want to put it. And then you're going to take your string orb and you're going to put it right over the light, right in the middle, and lay it on down.
Grab some pool noodles from the Dollar Tree. Find a scrap piece of plywood and paint the back and front completely with a white primer. Paint on black paint after the primer dries. Reach for a pool noodle and cut multiple foam noodles the same length. Lay the cut foam noodles side by side and adhere them together. Then add glue to the bottom of all the noodles and adhere vertically to the plywood board. Paint all of the noodles completely using black paint.
Gonna go right down the center and just cut them in half so that I have that flat edge to go flush against the board.
Space the noodles out with a little bit of spacing in between and then attach them also with the staple gun for some added stability. I worked in sections of about 4 at a time, sprayed a little bit of spray adhesive on, and then just kind of used my hands to firmly work the leather into the channels. I trimmed the edge at the corner and then just tucked it over and secured it tightly with a little bit of spray adhesive and then also more of the staples. Once that corner was secure, I just worked my way down.
Today's project starts with a pool noodle. We're going to take a piece of duct tape and use that to hold it in place. Once we got our 3 rings together, we're going to stack them up. Once I get that, I'm going to cut some more pool noodles and they're going to stack inside. We need them to be level with the top. Start on the outside and work your way to the end. Now you're going to start on one end and go ahead and slice your tape and put it on the bottom. Go across the 3 pool noodles, across the top, down the bottom. We're actually going to need to cover the whole thing in duct tape because we're going to need to apply some hot glue to it. And then right in the middle, I'm going to put a first dab of hot glue. I'm going to take this rope right here, this cotton rope, and go ahead and put it on there.
The first thing I'm doing is taping these pool noodles together in 4 different areas to create stability. I'm establishing my base layer of florals by spreading the stems sporadically throughout the noodles. Now it is time to add the main focal piece, but before I do that, I need to add 2 cable tie mounts to the top and the bottom of the sign so I can attach my pipe cleaners and floral stake. Here it's as easy as taking the sign and directly placing it into the pool noodles, securing it with some hot glue. On the back side, I'm placing another one to give it that full watermelon shape and allow your design to be double-sided. Now I'm going to be adding those larger florals from the previous bouquet evenly throughout the design. On each side of the sign, I'm placing 2 medium bows.
Ran down to the dollar store and picked up some pool noodles. I cut them in half lengthwise. I made sure to cut the pool noodles to the length of the bench seat, and I secured it in place using a staple gun. At this point, I also added some fabric. I chose outdoor fabric because I knew that my bench was going outdoors. I secured this in place as closely as I could to the bottom of the pool noodle, put the fabric over that piece, and secured that piece again. And I continued this pattern of noodle, fabric, so that I could create tufted channels, and the fabric would look like it goes all the way down down in between the different pool noodle pieces. When I got to the end of the bench, I again took that last piece of pool noodle, wrapped it around the back edge of the wood, and secured it in place. Now I needed to add the legs. I had ordered these legs off of Amazon. All I had to do was secure them in place using the screws that came in the box.
The next time you're at Dollar Tree, grab yourself some of their succulent picks. Also going to want to grab some of their foam pool noodles. I decided I wanted to paint my frame. Flip the frame over. I'm going to use the pool noodle as a measuring guide, and then I'm going to cut it exactly so it fits in the little ledge of the frame. And then I'm going to cut the pool noodle directly in half. I'm going to take some E6000 and I'm going to glue just the edges of the frame and the edges of the pool noodle, and I'm going to place the pool noodle into the frame, but making sure that the curved side is going to be facing out. Then once it's fully set, I'm going to come in here and create my own little backings. And then just to make the back a little prettier, I have this green fabric that I'm just going to lay over top, and then I'm going to take a stapler and I'm going to staple it around. I'm going to start with some moss. So I have some reindeer moss here. I'm going to come in with the succulent picks that I picked up from the dollar store, add a bit of hot glue to the edge, and then I'm going to work them in.
Head over to your local Walmart and grab a few sprigs of greenery. I placed the pool noodle next to the top of the planter and marked a line. Then I cut the pool noodle with a knife to the mark. After that, I placed the pool noodle pieces along with some empty water bottles inside the planter to keep everything in the center and weighted down. Then I placed the sprigs of faux greenery inside the holes of the pool noodles and fluffed it all out.
Today we're working with pool noodles. First, you want to cut the pool noodle in half to slit them right down the center. And then we're going to fold our noodle open. So I'm going to cut this all the way through. And then I'm going to turn these upside down. So I'm going to put my glue. This is cool melt, so it's not super, super hot. And then you're going to place that. Okay, so now I'm attaching the second piece and we will insert our third piece. Okay, our glue is dry. So now I'm going to trim off the ends. We are now going to put a tray on here and we're going to decorate it. Cut 2-inch sections of our pool noodle. We're going to have 1 in the center and 6 around the outside. And we're going to place it on the top. You want to cut all the way around. Cut that small piece out of my noodle. And then your candle will fit in there just like this. Now I'm going to connect them. I'm using a hot glue gun, but it is on a low temperature. I have a big rubber band in my hand and I'm going to put that around here and let this dry.
So here's the big secret. Every pool noodle has a hole in it. So I'm gonna stick the pool noodle onto the faucet like this. Next, I take the other end of the pool noodle and I hold it down so that it aims in the center of the bucket. I turn the water on slowly and I just wait to fill the bucket to the level I want. Now, how easy is this? Now I'm ready to get mopping. Now, a lot of people have trouble with drafts coming in under doors. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take a pool noodle and I'm gonna measure my door. What I picked up was a pillowcase from the dollar store. I'm gonna take this pool noodle, stick it inside. I'm gonna lay it back down on the table so it's nice and flat. I'm gonna go ahead and just wind it. So I'm gonna put a little dab of hot glue here, and then I'm just gonna run this along the edge. So this end is open because this is the top of the pillowcase. So all I'm gonna do is stick the pillowcase into the hole. Velcro adhesive. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel off the adhesive and I'm gonna place it. Now I have peeled the backing off and I'm going to stick it to door. Here it is on the door. And I can still open and close the door with ease. So what I've got here is a pool noodle from an old project that's already cut. And then what I need to do from here is just take a pen or a pencil or marker and just kind of mark where this spot is. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a slit into about half of the pool noodle. Next, I'm gonna flip the noodle over and I've got these great little picture holder strips and you're gonna wanna put it on the back side of where each of these are. So I start by peeling the backing off. And now I stick and press it on the wall and I need to wait 30 seconds at minimum. I just open the pool noodle like so and I stick
my broom handle inside. Here they are all hung up, and I'm just absolutely thrilled with how easy this was and how it turned out.
We're going to start the project by removing the chains and the hooks that are attached to each one. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to secure them together. Then you're going to take your baskets outside, and I just held up these two hanging planters to spray them with a little spray paint. Once you've let it dry, you're going to grab a pack of string lights. I used wire string lights. So once you have secured the lights, then you're going to want to install the batteries and check and make sure it works.
The next time you are at your local dollar store, pick up some wire garden hanging baskets. Turn one wire basket upside down and place on top of a second basket. Secure together by using 3 zip ties that are placed equidistant from each other. Take a string of LED lights, hang the battery box inside the basket globe and connect to the top. Turn the lights on and wrap the lights evenly around the globe, both vertically and horizontally. Secure the end of the light string to the basket using a twist tie. Using a leafy garland of your choice, start to tuck and glue the different leaves to the wire basket globe. Now, remember all those chains and hooks that you removed from the baskets? Let's put them to good use. Reconnect these chains of different lengths to the hooks and tighten the hook back together using some pliers. If you have a porch swing, here is a fun way to hang the globes without drilling additional holes into your porch ceiling. Thread the stick through your porch swing ceiling hooks to create a horizontal rod. Grab a wire mesh trash can from the dollar store. take a remote-controlled puck light. These are available at Amazon and attached to the inside bottom of the trash can. Now flip the trash can upside down and hook one end of the chain to one side of the basket bottom. Next, take a length of greenery garland and cut it into roughly 12-inch pieces. Now take some florist wire and start to wire the garland pieces to the top.
Grab some solar lights from Dollar Tree to create this outdoor decor. I'm gonna grab a pool noodle as well. I'm gonna cut this into small 1-inch sections, and then I'm gonna paint 3 of those sections a really dark black color. I picked up this really heavy metal candle holder from a thrift store. Now I'm gonna put it all together. Then I can grab my solar lights, pull off that bottom, I don't need that, and I can glue each of the lights into the center of the pool noodle.
Let's head down to our local hardware store and grab a 3-inch pipe. What I need to do is cut this in half. Easy to do since it's 2 foot long. We're just take a little bit of 80 grit sandpaper, rub it all the way around, and it'll smooth it. We are going to go randomly around the pipe and drill holes. So as you can see, as we start to paint, we got small, medium, and large. And now I grab some little Jenga pieces, use this scrap piece of wood that I have, and I'm going to glue these down. Once we get it all glued up, I'm going to take some black spray paint and paint this wood. Take some hot glue, and again, I got some rope from the dollar store. I'm going to go ahead and glue that on the inside of the pipe. Now, just keep wrapping that string all the way around. That's going to be our little barrier that's going to hold our light in. Now it's time to take that board we painted, turn it around, and we're just going to put a mounting hook on the back. We're going to take some hot glue. We're going to take our pipe, center it, and go ahead and push it down firmly.
Grab a hula hoop and fairy lights to make this outdoor display. So I'm gonna start by spray painting them black. I opted for this really long strand of lights from Dollar Tree. It's on a wire, so it's really easy to wrap around the hula hoop. I'm gonna hang these in my gazebo to add a little light. I'm using zip ties to attach these to the rail along the top of my gazebo. Grab a solar light, pull off the stake, we don't need that part. Then use some hot glue to add it to a metal sconce. I picked these up at the thrift store, they're nice and heavy. Then use a screw hook in a fence or a deck and hang the sconces outside.
Go ahead and grab yourself a tomato cage and also grab some wood shims. Grab a scrap board, take the thick end. We're going to get a nice clean hole and we're going to do this to all of our shims. What we're going to do is take a towel and just dip it in there, make sure it's all covered. Just wipe it on there. The sticky points that go into the ground, we don't need those. It's just going to snap right off. Now we're going to grab us some copper wire. We're going to put that through the shim with the hole in it. Just use it like a twist tie. Go all the way around. Once you get the second layer done, we're going to grab us a solar light from Dollar Tree. Take off that small part on the bottom, the stake, we don't need that, and let it float right in the middle. Now we're going to work on that last circle.
So to start this project, we're going to take 2 of these decorative mirrors and found these 2 hexagon frames from Dollar Tree. So we're going to first disassemble and we're going to spray paint. And all we're going to be doing is we're going to be gluing this decorative mirror to this frame. We're going to take some LED puck lights. They come with these little sheets of adhesive, and we are going to secure it to the back here.
The next time you're at the thrift store, don't pass by the vase aisle with grabbing some of the globe-shaped vases. I'm going to make sure I give them a good clean. Came in with this Americana Enchanted paint, so I'm just going to go ahead and paint all the glass vases that I bought with just a nice light coat. Now you do want to make sure that you buy pots that have holes in the bottom. That's very important. And then I'm going to come in with some heavy strength Gorilla Glue here and apply it to the bottom of the terracotta pot. And then I'm going to put my globe on top of that. Then I picked up these fairy solar lights off of Amazon, and this is why you want the hole in the bottom of the terracotta pot, because I'm going to be threading the fairy lights through this hole up into the globe.
I ran down to Home Depot and picked up some beautiful flowers as well as 2 of these different hanging baskets. I removed the chain from both of the baskets and ended up removing the insert from one of the baskets. I opened everything up, placed my flowers inside, closed it again with the top frame on the top, lined up the holes, and added zip ties to hold everything together securely. My next step was to add the lights. These are solar powered lights, so they'll work great when I use them outside. Once it was all wrapped and ready, I was able to just let it sit in the sun for a few hours so that it could charge up.
Pick up one garden border from your local Dollar Tree. Cut the spike bases off, add small black zip ties to attach the wreath form to the border fence. Wrap the border fence with small twinkle lights all the way around. Add greenery of choice around the top of the border fence with hot glue.
You're not going to believe what I made with this plunger and funnel. I removed the wood stick from the plunger and flipped the rubber end inside out. I drew a circle on the top. I cut out the circle and trimmed the edges and spray painted it with Rust-Oleum black spray paint. While that was drying, I cut and sanded 1x6 wood planks. I attached the painted rubber plunger piece to the barnwood with 4 black screws. Next, I cut the wood plunger handle and I screwed it into the plunger part. I attached the funnel to the wood plunger handle. I used hot glue and attached a battery-operated puck light.
You're going to need some dollar store solar lights. Flip the bowl upside down and we need to remove the label. Next, I'm gonna focus on the solar light. So we just take the stem off. We're not even gonna need that. You need to open up the solar light and pull out the tag so that the solar light works. Then you can place that back on and this part is ready to be used. This will be the base of our project. What I'll be using for this project for weight are these dollar store rocks. So I'm gonna be placing them inside. For the next step, I'm gonna place the solar light in top like this. I'll go ahead and add a few more rocks to this. So what I'm gonna do is add a little dab of hot glue on each corner, like so. I'm gonna take that bowl and flip it upside down and place it right there on top so it's centered. So just to show you, if I remove this out, you can see here, I would be able to pull this off and replace this easily with another dollar store solar light if this burns out at some point. So I picked up a couple of these dollar store solar lights and I'm gonna take them apart. I just need that kind of crystal plastic part and the top. So I'm gonna cover the light bulb on the bottom and then I'm gonna cover the solar panel on top and then use a craft knife to cut around it so you get perfectly straight lines. This is a 7-inch basic embroidery hoop. So I'm gonna untwist this screw and put that aside. I'm taking them outside and I am adding a couple coats of a matte black spray paint. Make sure they're fully dry to the touch and now we can assemble. So first we wanna remove the painter's tape so that these solar lights work. On the clear plastic part, there are 2 little clips that help attach it to the top. And I'm just gonna take some floral wire and wrap it around each one of those clips. Wrap it nice and tight so it hugs the plastic closely. And then I'm able to screw the black part back on top and the wire is still gonna hang out either side. I picked this chain up at the craft store. It is actually in the jewelry section. I'm gonna thread the chain through the screw and tighten it about halfway. The solar light is going to hang from the inside hoop. So I'm just gonna use my floral wire and wrap it around that hoop. Now I can put this middle hoop, the smaller hoop, back inside the larger one. Now once everything's in place, I can tighten this screw. Pick up a couple of wood hangers. Start by pulling the metal part out of the hanger. Then grab 2 hangers and drill a small hole in the corner of each one. This does not have to go all the way through the hanger. Now we're gonna fit these 2 hangers together to look like the legs of a table. Once I have them positioned where I want them, use a little bit of wood glue along the edge and clamp them together. Repeat this same process with 2 more hangers and let that dry as well. Once the glue is dry, we're gonna grab these corner braces. These are 3/4 inch corner braces, and we're gonna screw these into the pre-drilled holes. To turn this into a mini table, we need a tabletop. I'm using just a white melamine shelf. Then I'm gonna mark off the holes and use a drill to just pre-drill these holes. And then we can attach them with screws. I'm gonna repeat this process on the other side so my table has 2 sets of legs. And that's it. Now I can use this as a mini lap table in bed or on the couch.
Today's project is going to require some clothespins and a small bucket. The clothespins are easy to take apart. All you have to do is twist them and the springs come right off. When it comes to the clothespins, on the inside there's 3 grooves. We're concerned about the middle groove. All we have to do is use some hot glue. Put it on that middle groove and on the bottom one. That's going to hold our clothespin right where we need it. Just put the groove against it and that gives you the perfect lining that you need. We're going to do that with multiple amounts all the way around. You can do one at a time like I'm doing here, or what we can do is run some glue maybe 2 or 3 clothespins wide. But you got to work fast. You got to make sure that glue doesn't set up. I like to do 2 at a time. They don't fit perfectly against the top. They're going to sit out a little bit. I like this look. So I push the bottom in. If you want to go ahead and push the top, make it against the top rim, you can do that also. On these clothespins, right when you get to the end, maybe and hopefully you'll get a good amount in there. You might have to sand one down to make it fit. I got lucky on this and I was able to get 2 of them in there. Nice. And there it is. And it's got that wonderful groove across the top. Now on the bottom, we don't want just a bucket showing. So I grabbed some rope from Dollar Tree, put a little bit of hot glue just to make it a starter on the bottom, push it in place. Very carefully, as I put a napkin down, run some glue on the bottom of the bucket and just keep pushing the rope in. Be careful, that hot glue is hot. And we're going to go all the way around the edge. Again, careful, just because this is our starter piece and we want to make everything line up. When we get to the end, it's going to bump up, but we don't want a drastic bump up. So take your hot glue right at the top of the starter rope and gradually go down. That way it's a slight incline and not just a bump. Once you do this, now it gets easier. You can put the rope on and the glue and just fold it on top. Again, that's why I love this spinning table that I made. Just keep going all the way around. Look at that. We're covering up the white bucket and it's just looking really good. When you get to the end of your rope, no pun intended, just go ahead and put it right on side there. Get it glued perfectly down and then start a new one. Now it comes time for stain. Use the stain of your choice. Or you can just leave it bare. Some people like that look. Next, we need a wood or plastic hanger that's shaped like this, usually called a suit hanger. I took a square, put it against the inside edge of the hanger, and marked 90 degrees. We're actually going to cut on this line. We're also going to cut off the hanger part itself. I use a little jigsaw and just cut straight across. This one is plastic, so go slow. Those little bits can get a little warm, and cut across every line. Once we do that, turn your bucket over, and then we're going to hot glue our legs on. The skinny part goes on the top, and the fat part goes on the bottom. Again, remember the bucket is turned over, so run hot glue up and down the leg there, and push it in. Make sure it's 90 degrees, sticking straight up. If we do 4 of these across from each other, it makes it nice and steady and stable. On the back, I want to cover up the glue on the clothespin and put one of those last bits of rope that I have on there. The hot glue will hold it in place, bring it around to the front, and I'm going to tie a knot on it and make it look good and put the plant in. And watch this. When we come back, I'm going to show you what it can look like. And there it is, our wonderful new potting plant. I hope this inspired you to build your own DIY potted plant from Dollar Tree.
The next time you run across a wire hanger in your closet, pull it out and use it for something other than clothes. Take 2 styrofoam blocks that you can purchase at your local dollar store and glue them together using a cool melt glue gun. Now take that wire hanger and bend it by pulling the bottom wire toward the top of the hanger. Next, take 2 pipe cleaners, it doesn't matter what color, and twist the ends together. Do this as well with another set of 2 pipe cleaners. So now you have 2 long pipe cleaners. Position the wire hanger hook on top of the styrofoam block and secure it by wrapping the pipe cleaners up and around the hook. Twist the ends securely and tuck them in. If you wish, you can use a little more cool melt glue to make sure the pipe cleaners and hook stay put. Flip the styrofoam block so the hook is facing your counter. Take some faux greenery bunches and start to cut off smaller stems with a wire cutter or very sharp scissors. Start to stick the faux stems into the top and sides of the styrofoam block. It's nice to use 2 or 3 different types of greenery so there is added depth in the color. Now take some faux flowers, I'm always a sucker for tulips, and start to cut the stems from the bunch. Start with some shorter stems and stick them into the center face of the styrofoam block. Again, different shades and types of flowers are going to give you added depth. Once the center is filled, start to cut longer stems and stick them into the top and sides of the block. Continue to fill in the empty spaces with other flowers. Now head outdoors and hang your new flower arrangement from any outdoor light sconce. The wire hanger is the perfect hook. I hope this inspired you to raid your closet for wire hangers and create gorgeous floral arrangements for your outdoor lighting.
You'll never believe how cute some baby hangers can be in your flower pots. To start, I want to take 2 of the hangers and place them so that the hooks face each other and they create a heart. I want to add a dab of hot glue to the 2 points where the hangers meet. Next, I want to use a zip tie in the same spot to secure them so that they don't come apart. To create the butterfly, I want to attach the 2 wings together now. With the wings attached to each other, it's time to add the body. I chose these small solar lights. Since I want to keep my butterflies in flower pots, I didn't need big ones, and these are the perfect size. I could use longer ones though if I wanted to put these into the ground. Now that my pink butterfly is ready, I want to make 2 more using the white hangers. Since the hangers only come in pink and white, I thought it would be fun to paint one to give it a little character. I'm going to finish this up and then I'll show you what they look like outside. These butterflies are so fun. They not only look great in the daytime, but they're super cute lit up at night as well. I hope this has inspired you to make some butterflies for your garden or porch as well.
Head on over to Dollar Tree for this awesome and fun DIY. You'll need 10 hangers for this project. Place the hangers in a triangle shape. Add 3 zip ties, 1 to the peak and 2 to the hooks. You'll need to repeat this process until you have 5 sets of hangers. Place the hanger sets into a star shape. Now it's time to connect all the edges, so add zip ties to all the connecting edges. At the top, I decided I needed a little extra strength, so I slid the one hook over to the side and tightened it, and I added an extra zip tie for strength and durability. I wrapped the entire star in lights. I placed it on my mantle to connect the lights, and I placed it on a clicky lighter. So now I simply click it on to turn it on and click it off to turn it off.
And I hope this inspires you to make a hanger star